Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say, Kalayim La Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Baharakai Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. And shalom to my fellow laborers out there, the hopeful elect. And I want to get into the second part of this Daniel's 7 breakdown history. I decided to go over it because Daniel 7 is like I guess you can say, it has a lot of different points, and a lot of the things that go on in Daniel's tie into other scriptures. And like when we get into the Roman Empire, I'll have to go into Revelation, especially when we get to like the little horn and tying that in and so on and so forth. It'll help me brush up on a lot of the breakdowns, which is very important. So just to jump right in, we'll go into Daniel's 7th chapter in the 4th verse. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and was lifted up from the earth, and man stand upon the feet as a man, and the man's heart was given up to it. So when the lion had wings, it represents the Assyrian Empire. And you can also look at that Lamassu. You can look that up on your own. I believe in that video, on my last part about the Syrians, I think that thing was a Lamassu, those big old kind of like winged lions that you saw. That's what that represents. When the wings thereof were plucked, it represents the Babylonian Empire, which took down the Syrian Empire. And I got a source here. This is worldhistory.org, and I read down a little bit to the Neo-Assyrian period, which was when they were starting to get their stuff together. This website says Tiglath-Pileser III was when they started to get it together. The book I have here, the Halley's Bible Handbook, says it was with Ashurbanipal II. Doesn't exactly matter. Just roundabout their rulerships is when Syria was meant to be the ruling power upon the earth, the ruling nation upon the earth. Okay, so let's see here. We'll read down here to Ashurbanipal, which he succeeded Esarhaddon. So Ashurbanipal, 685 to 627 BCE, succeeded him as king of the Syrian Empire, and his brother Shamash-shum-ukin was made viceroy in Babylonia. The arrangement failed, as Shamash-shum-ukin did not prove to be popular with the Babylonians who revolted, which, as I mentioned before, the brothers say that a lot of those Babylonians at this point, they were Syrians. Like the Syrians already basically took over Babylon, and a lot of the Hamites weren't really there. Not to say that there weren't any there, but it was basically like the Syrians that were like in Babylon. After several years of war, because the Babylonians revolted, after several years of war, during which Egypt regained its independence with the help of mercenaries sent by Gyges of Lydia, which is a Japhite, the Babylonian rebellion was put down. Shortly after, which the Japhites were dark-skinned people back then. All right, Esau didn't take it over yet. That'll come later with Alexander the Freak and his merry band of freaks. Shortly after, Elam rebelled, and his capital Susa was razed, and the empire was finally drained of its resources. And Elam is the East Indians in Persia, and Elam they're the same people. They're Elamites. You see, Susa, the capital, which I think Susa is also in like Persia, but they're really just the same people. They're the same exact people. So the Babylonian rebellion was put down. Then Elam rebelled, and then the Syrians were drained of their resources. So this is them in decline. The Scythians and Cimmerians, as in Cimmerians, which are Japhites as well, invaded Assyria from the east and from the north, and when Ashurbanipal died, his empire was close to collapse under external pressure. The Babylonian king Nabopolassar ruled 625 to 605 BC, along with Cyaxares of the Medes, ruled 625 to 585 BCE, finally destroyed Nineveh in 612 BCE, marking the end of the Assyrian Empire. Okay, so this is where you get the fall of Nineveh in 612 BCE, which we're reading about here, the wings being plucked. That is when the fall of Nineveh took place. And let me just go dump that in my King James. I'm pretty sure I got it in the King James. Just have to sign in real quick. And yeah, took over in the battle of Nineveh, and I'll just put 612 BC for myself. There we go, 612 BC. So let's get another source that'll help explain a bit more. Because now, what you see here, and it made to stand upon the feet as a man, and man's heart was given unto it. The Babylonians was meant to rule. This is their time to rule. And let's see here. 4 BC kingdoms, which I think this is another way you could say it too. This is enduringword.com. A little later, Daniel 7 and 17, Daniel tells us that these 4 beasts are 4 kingdoms ruling over the earth, which we know. The first kingdom is the Babylonian Empire, represented by a lion and an eagle. This fits in well with the majesty and authority of Nebuchadnezzar in his reign over the empire of Babylon, which is really just a lion with eagle's wings. But it also refers to Nebuchadnezzar as well, because his rulership was a big part of the Neo-Assyrian Empire. So let's go ahead and go here. This is the Halley's Bible Handbook, and we'll start at page 212. And the New Babylonian Empire, sometimes called the Neo-Babylonian Empire, this was the empire that broke the power of Assyria in 612 BC, along with the Medes, and in its westward sweep destroyed Judah and conquered Egypt. Its kings were Nabopolassar, viceroy of Babylon. He threw off the yoke of Assyria 625 BC and established the independence of Babylon with the aid of Cyaxares the Mede, which is a Japhite. He conquered and destroyed Nineveh, which funny, those Medes, they started to work with the Persians, which we're going to talk about later on. In the next video, when we start talking about the Persian Median Empire, the Medes were at one point working with Babylon, and then they started working with Persia. So that's just the way the Lord had that set up. So with Cyaxares the Mede, he conquered and destroyed Nineveh. His own son Nebuchadnezzar became commander of his father's armies and became co-regent with his father. Nebuchadnezzar, right? The Nebuchadnezzar which you read about in Daniel's the 2nd chapter, right? Nebuchadnezzar, greatest of all Babylonian kings, one of the mightiest monarchs of all time, which, come on, man. We know who's the mightiest monarch of all time, man. We know who the best monarch of all time is, man. The richest, Solomon, man. Our monarchs are the greatest monarchs of all time, man. King David and Solomon. They're the best, man. And above them is Yahweh. All right, so you know how these Bible scholars are. They always gotta, which is nothing wrong with saying that a king is great, but our kings are greater, man. And our kings are gonna be ruling again in the kingdom. It's gonna be Yahushua rulership, and under him is gonna be, King David, the 12 apostles, the elders, and then the rest of us, man. 144,000, Lord, I'm of that number, and then the elect, the rest of the elect, So moving on, let's go back and read here. He reigned. So Nebuchadnezzar, greatest of all Babylonian kings, which I believe brothers say he's an Assyrian. He's an Assyrian. Like the Assyrians they were like the royal line at this time in Babylon. They were just calling themselves Babylonians, but he's an Assyrian as well. He reigned 45 years. The Babylon Empire was largely his work. He extended the power of Babylon over most of the then known world, and beautified the city of Babylon almost beyond imagination. And I think from him is where you get those hanging gardens. Let's go see. They actually have a page link. Let's go check it out. Let's look at page 336. You have the Great Temple of Marduk, which I think Marduk is another name for Nimrod, which he was a Hamite. He was an actual Hamite. Hanging Gardens of Babylon were one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, built by Nebuchadnezzar for his Median queen, beautiful daughter of Cyaxares, who had helped his father conquer Nineveh, on several tiers of arches one over another and bearing a solid platform, 400 feet square terraces and top covered with flowers, shrubs, and trees, garden on the roof, water from the reservoir on top, where which water was raised from the river by hydraulic pumps. So underneath in the arches were luxurious apartments and the pleasure ground of the palace, built while Daniel was chief governor of the wise men of Babylon, which we'll talk about that in a minute too, which I think I mentioned it anyway. That's why Daniel was in Babylon, because he was dragged away there when he took down Judah. We're going to speak about that in a minute. He extended the power of Babylon over most of the then known world and beautified the city of Babylon almost beyond imagination. He was the one that carried the Jews, the southern kingdom, which is just Judah, southern kingdom, into captivity. Not just Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, but they call him Judah because Judah is the ruling tribe, was the ruling tribe. But we know now it's Yahushai. He's going to be the one to rule, which Yahushua was already spiritually Judah before Judah was already a thing. Like the angels are spiritually Judah. Yeah, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, is spiritually Judah as well, because they're dark skinned. And remember, we all come out the waters of Judah. So, he was the one that carried the Jews into captivity, including Daniel and Ezekiel. He took a great liking to Daniel and made him one of his chief advisors, because remember, Daniel's the second chapter. And Daniel's influence, no doubt, must have eased the lot of Jewish captives on the southern kingdom, because remember, the northern kingdom was already dragged away by the Syrians, by Shalmaneser V and then Sargon II, who completed the siege. And Daniel's influence, no doubt, must have eased the lot of Jewish captives. See further on Nebuchadnezzar in Babylon, page 336 to 344, which you don't really got to go super deep into that. But here is a basic rundown of what went down. Babylon here on page 211 of Halley's Bible Handbook. Assyria took Israel away in captivity 734 to 721 BC. Babylon took Judah away in captivity 606 to 586 BC. Assyria was the northern part of the Euphrates Tigris Valley. Babylon was the south part of the Euphrates Tigris Valley. Nineveh was the capital of the Syrian Empire. Babylon was the capital of the Babylonian Empire. Nineveh and Babylon were 300 miles apart. So that's just a bit of info. And we don't really got to go into the captivity of Judah, but I was thinking I was going to go do it, but nah, that just, you could read about that for yourself, and that's in, let's see, here we go, 2 Kings. I know it's in a lot of places. I'm pretty sure it's also in 1st Esdras. I believe it's in 1st Esdras, but you could go check that out. So that sea line of Nebuchadnezzar, you got evil Merodach, Nerigalazer, Nabosh Marduk, Nabonidus, and then then you get the Nabonidus, his son Belshazzar, which was the co-regent. In the last few years of his reign, Babylon fell, which you can read about that in the book of Daniel as well. You had Belshazzar, who was like a co-regent, and his father Nabonidus was the king. And I believe his father Nabonidus was a priest, and he was away. And then Belshazzar, in one night, I think he sent Darius the Mede to go take down Babylon, but the Persian Median Empire took over Babylon just one fell swoop, just a very like it was just like a sweep, you just sweep through and took it, and they took it over, and they didn't like really set fire to it. They just came in and just took it. It's written like that in the scriptures, because remember, Babylon wasn't really burnt with fire. When you read the scriptures, that's really referring to America, which America is Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, because America follows Babylon's ways. And it's also a virgin daughter of Babylon, because it's like a virgin's never been popped. America's never been penetrated by another standing military before, but it will be. It will be penetrated by ICBMs, and it will be penetrated by chariots that will come down upon this place to deliver the elect, but also bring death and destruction and chariot laser beams to the wicked, to other nations. And if you're here in America, this is going to be your grave. But if you're in other parts of the world, we're going to enslave you. Dwah Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Oh, If we don't want to kill you, we'll enslave you. You'll be enslaved. We're gonna destroy a lot of you, and then those of you that try to hide away, man, we gonna get you when we get out them chariots, and we gonna put you in slavery when we come down. We're gonna force you to rebuild Israel, and we're gonna live in that land as pertaining to the scriptures. That was basically what I was trying to get at. So yeah, and we're not really gonna talk about Belshazzar, because Belshazzar is someone we're gonna talk about in Daniel the 7th chapter and the 5th verse, when it talks about the Persian Medes. So yeah, supremacy passed to Persia. For the story of the handwriting on the wall and the fall of Babylon, see page 344. The Babylonian Empire lasted 70 years. The 70 years of Judah's captivity was exactly the same 7 years that Babylon ruled the world, which I think Jeremiah was the one that predicted it. When you read here on page 211, the captivity of Judah by Babylon had been predicted 100 years before by Isaiah and Micah, Isaiah 39:6 and Micah 4:10. Now that it was accomplished, Jeremiah predicted that it would last 70 years, Jeremiah 25:11 and 12. Okay, so as I said, the prophets are the mouthpiece of the Lord. Surely the Lord would do nothing, but he revealed his secrets to his servants, the prophets. And that's what we do. We're out here and we're telling you, and we're able to use the scriptures, and we're able to tell you and predict the future through the scriptures and tell you what the future is. It's not even really predictions, just straight up telling you directly that, hey man, martial law is coming, man. Jacob trouble is coming. You got to repent and get right. There's going to be a time of great death. Like I always mention with the Syrian example, people going to be treated like the mire in the streets, man. They going to fuck these people up, man. So if you don't want to be caught out like that, then you got to repent. These jakes out here are going to get jacked up, and that was pretty much it. The Babylonian Empire lasted 70 years. The 70 years of Judah's captivity was exactly the same 70 years that Babylon ruled. The year that Cyrus, king of Persia, conquered Babylon, that same year he authorized the return of the Jews, the southern kingdom, to their own land. Babylon, a pressure of God's Old Testament people. You know what they're going with. I'm not even gonna bother here, man. Because then they're trying to tie it into Revelation the 17th chapter, ancient Babylon, which they're off, man. Babylon's America, man. The Babylon you read about in Revelation 17th chapter is America. But this book goes off, But they were oppression. They call it the Old Testament people. It's the same people. The Lord never changed. The Lord's always been for his people. Yahweh Shai even said himself, he shall save his people, Matthew 1:21. So once again, this book right here, it goes off, But that's pretty much it for the Neo-Babylonian Empire. It's a lot of info, but yeah, that Nebuchadnezzar guy, he was the guy. He was the guy to do it, to really jack up our people. Now let's go in and get the what do you call it? The division of languages. And then we'll just do a little bit more, and then we'll close it off. We don't really gotta overdo it here, because really can be here for hours if I looked at more commentaries, But we don't gotta do that. Just bring out the point, and then I gotta go get ready for camp. So this is the book of Genesis chapter 11 verse 1. And the whole earth was of one language, was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as a journey from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there, which that's the land of a plain in Babylonia. That's that same region, or Babylonia or Chaldea. That's where a lot of people were going to. And let's go check out that word Shinar is Shana Shinar. It's like, it sounds like they're about the same thing. Shiner. No, it's really just be Shinar. Shinar. Not really the best of the Hebrew, but it sounds about the same. You got the Sha, the Na, the I, and then the Ra. So this should be Shanar, 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 something like that. And dwelt there. They said one to another, "Let us go make brick and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. Let's look at slime, asphalt, and bitumen. And let's look at a different translation at the same time while we're reading this. Let's check out NLT. Let's see here what NLT says. So yeah, they had tar for mortar, and that's like what you use for the bricks to like make them stick. So yeah, mortar for bricks. So mortar mix. Okay, it's used for laying bricks. Brick countries, masonry. For brick. Let's see here, usage. Let's see what is. Why is mortar used? Mortar is used as a workable paste to bind bricks and other masonry units together. A mortar joint acts as a sealant, bearing pad, the glue that sticks the units together yet keeps them apart, and in this sense performs as a gap filling adhesive. So that's what that's for. Just wanted to get a deeper example on that. And they said, "Go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach into heaven, and let's make a name lest we be scattered upon the face of the whole earth." And we know that Nimrod was a guy that was heading this, and Nimrod, Nimrod's Obama, believe it or not, which is hilarious. But that's what the elders apostles said to the Spirit, and I believe it, And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And this is verse 5. And the Lord said, "Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." Different dialects of the same language, exactly, because the original language, when it says they were all one language and one speech, that original language was the Hebrew. And that's why Ibar's name was Ibar. That's a nomen omen. Ibar is where you get the word Ibarioth, which means Hebrew. And that means from the past, because the Hebrew language is a language of the past. And that was the language that everyone spoke at one point. The Hamites spoke Hebrew originally. The Japhites spoke Hebrew at one point originally. Okay? The nations that came out of Shem, they spoke Hebrew originally. And then with here, as you're gonna read on, that language was switched up. And as you got here, what I like the way this book says it, Halley's, the Halley says, this is the book of this is Halley's Bible Handbook, and this is page 84. And I went here, Tower of Babel, went down to the note. Languages fall into a few large families. Within the family, resemblances are apparent and development can be traced back sometimes for 3,000 years. I don't know about that, but whatever. Between the major groups, Indo-European and Semitic, there is no resemblance. So the Lord really switched up the languages a lot. Indo-European, the Indus Valley, India, Europe, and whatever, the languages are different. The Lord had them, sound different, and had them to the point where there was really no resemblance between them. And that's proof that this actually went down. But all those languages all go back to the original Paleo Hebrew. Okay? So that proves it. This is verse 6. And the Lord said, "Behold, the people is one, and they have one language, all have one language. And this they began to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do." Now this is what we're reading about. This is the first New World Order, which shows that Esau is the wicked, because he knows this. He knows this because he has a place out there, the CERN lab. I think it's actually called Babel. They actually have a building that's based off of the Tower of Babel. Here you go, CERN. So they actually have a thing, a CERN Babel building. They have a building, I think it's either CERN or it's somewhere else. Tower of Babel building. Maybe it's maybe it's the EU building. It's something. It was something I saw, man. Fuck, where is it? Maybe it's in yeah, EU Parliament building. The EU. Why is the EU Parliament building modeled after the cursed Tower of Babel? Now the end begins. This is someone's website, but the EU Parliament building is modeled after it, which I don't really know how it really looked like the actual Tower of Babel, and I'm not gonna sit there and dig into that. However, they clearly did that on purpose. They did that shit on purpose. Because remember, the EU is just a tool for them to reach the New World Order, for them to reach their New World Order, which they already have it, but for them to like have it like, they're making it more apparent and more white out there in the open. And what's going to really complete that, and what they really want is going to help them get that total control, which is their goal of these elites. Because remember, NATO and the EU, and America, NATO, and EU, the beast system, they're just an alliance of Edomite nations that are getting together to take down the dark races, and that's all that is. And what they want to do is have that mark of the beast, that microchip, which would that be like that ultimate form of control over these other nations. Because once they have that in you, then they'll be able to read your vital signs. They can fuck with you. They can make you hear shit. They even have plans to be able to make you see memories. So they can touch your memories and fuck with your memories. Man, it's fucking wicked, man. That's what Elon Musk wants to be able to do with the chip. Be able to like access memories, make you look at memories and shit like that. That shit's fucking wicked, man. And the Lord ain't gonna let them, man. Of course they're gonna have it out there, but the scriptures do say when he's about to fill his belly, then the Lord shall rain the wrath upon him, rain the fire upon him. So though Esau's going to accomplish certain things, he's not going to accomplish everything. The Lord isn't going to let him. All right, but he is going to push out that microchip, and people are going to take that microchip because that's just what's written in Revelation, the 13th chapter and the 16th verse. But yeah, let's go back to Genesis, the 10th chapter, and then we'll close it out. Verse 7. Let's go down, confound their language, that they may not speak, that they may not understand one another's speech. So they split them up into different language families and then subfamilies of languages and so on and so forth. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of the earth, and he left off to build a city. Therefore the name of it is Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. Now Babel is Babal, which means confusion. That's why Babylon is called the city of confusion in Isaiah 24:10. The city of confusion is broken down, and the house being shut up. It's referring to the quarantines, which that was used, and they have that in their playbook still to fuck this place up, to fuck this place up morally, to fuck up this place economically, because the Lord has them doing it, and they're doing it on purpose. Like Egypt staggering, which now that's referring to America. Egypt staggering like they're in their own vomit. Like a drunkard. The Lord is having Egypt fuck up and err in every work that they try to do. The Lord has that set up. I believe that's Isaiah 19. The Lord has that set up like that for a reason, which the elites are having them do it on purpose because they want to have order ad chaos, so they can bring back and have that mark of the beast come out, and then they can move on from there, setting up their wicked world order. Let's go ahead and read this last excerpt in this book, Halley's Bible Handbook, and then I think I'm about ready to close off because I did talk for a long time. So we'll start here. This is Genesis 11, verse 1 through 9 on Halley's Bible Handbook, page 83. The confusion of tongues occurred in the 4th generation after the flood, about the time of the birth of Peleg. Exactly, and also in the time of Eber, which Eber is the father. Eber is the father of is the father of Peleg, which Peleg means a vision, which that was a nomen omen. And same with Eber. Eber's name, which his name means from the past, and that's also a nomen omen. Do not be surprised when you read um, about it, and it says from beyond or whatever. You got to go back to the what do you call it? The damn thing, man. Fuck. What am I saying? You got to go back to the thing. You got to go back to the what am I trying to say, man? Fuck. You got to go back to that book, the Hebrew English Dictionary, I believe, Salakia, because I was looking for something else at the same time while I was thinking about that. This is Genesis chapter 10, verse 25. And unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Okay, so that's that. And we know that the chosen seed line went to Peleg when you read about it. Peleg, and then Ru, and then Serug, and then Nahor, and then Terah, and then Terah, Abram, Nahor, and Haran, and blah blah blah, so on and so forth. You brothers know already. You brothers, we've gone over this time and time again. So, which was 101 years after the flood and 326 years before the call of Abraham. It was the Most High's method of dispersing the race to its task of subduing the earth. And it may be in part account for the variety of gods and the variety of names of pre-flood. Nope. Now they're going off again. They're going to trying to say pre-flood persons and nope. No. Dumb gods they worship, those are just demons, man. They got demons on them that make them worship that shit. And they worship them demons too. Like they see demons and then they worship them. I know brothers mention that. Their gods are really just demons. We're going to Tarabah will stop temporarily, but was resumed by those who remain in Babylon. I don't know about that. But they continue to build Babylon, of course, but I'm not going to sit there and dig into that, whether they started building it again, because it does say that they left from building it. The scripture does say that they left off, they stopped building it, and they were scattered, and they started going around, and they stopped building it. They stopped building the city, and in that way the Lord scattered them all over the world, and they stopped building the city, and that's Genesis 11 and 8. So that's that. So let's go here and we'll go a little bit earlier. This is Genesis. What is this? Genesis chapter 10. And they got here Nimrod. Let's go back here to Genesis, the 10th chapter. Slakia, brothers. There we go. Nimrod. Yeah. So Nimrod was the most outstanding leader in the 400 years between the flood and Abraham, grandson of Ham, born soon after the flood, judging by the ages mentioned and Genesis 11, 10, and 16. He may have lived through the whole period. He was a very enterprising man. Yeah, I don't know about that, calling him a outstanding leader. Now he was leading the people, but he was still wicked. He may have been a mighty hunter, as it says right here, but he was still wicked for building this dumb shit. This is Obama. His fame as a mighty hunter meant that he was a protector of the people at a time when wild animals were a continual menace. Early Babylonian seals represent a king in combat with a lion. This may be a tradition of Nimrod. In his ambition to control the rapidly multiplying and spreading race, he seemed to have been the leader in the Tower of Babel enterprise. After the confusion of tongues and dispersion of the people, Nimrod seems to have later resumed work on Babylon. Then he built 3 nearby cities, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh, and consolidated them into one kingdom under his own rule. This was the beginning of imperialism. Babylonia was long known as the land of Nimrod. He was afterward deified, his name being identical with Merodach. There's another way of saying Marduk. Still ambitions to control the ever-spreading race, Nimrod went 300 miles further north and founded Nineveh, Nope, he sent Ashur. He sent Ashur to go ahead and do that. Now maybe he sent guys to help Ashur build Nineveh and switch that capital city out. But at the end of the day, it was they say Babylonian like explorers or Babylonian uh, uh, what do you call it? Babylonian colonists went there to found Ashur, but it was Ashur, man. It was Ashur, and maybe he had people there with him, but it was mainly him that set that all up. And it's possible he was under Babylon at that point. He was working under Nimrod. It's possible. Babylonia was long known as the land of Nimrod. He was afterward deified, his name being identical with Merodach. Still ambitious to control the ever-spreading race, which means like his people and then the people that he was working with. Nimrod went 300 miles further north and founded Nineveh. The one version says it was Ashur, and three nearby cities, Rehoboth, Calah, and Rezin. This constituted Nimrod's northern kingdom. For many centuries afterwards, these two cities, Babylon and Nineveh, founded by Nimrod, were the leading cities in the world. Cuneiform inscriptions state that Nineveh was colonized from Babylon, which is an archaeological confirmation of Genesis 10 and 11. Yeah, that's right. Because he sent them there. It's very possible that he sent them there and just made Ashur the leader. And Ashur you have the Ashurites, which are your Syrians. And so that's pretty much it for this video. Bit on the longer side, but lots of info went out. Lowell and you edify. Shalom.